I was working the front desk at a traditional ryokan in Kyoto when this American family walked in with their luggage. The dad was wearing these massive hiking boots, covered in mud from their temple visit. He just marched right across our tatami mat floor like he owned the place. I stood there frozen. My manager's face went pale. In Japan, walking on tatami with shoes is like, I don't even know how to compare it. It's like someone using your family photo as a coaster. I politely pointed to the shoe rack. "Excuse me, sir, shoes off here, please." He looked at me like I'd asked him to donate a kidney. "What? Why? It's just a floor." Just a floor. This tatami was hand-woven, replaced every few years. Cost more than his boots, probably. But I smiled and explained it's our custom. He sighed like I was making him solve a math problem, kicked off his boots, and left them sideways, blocking the entrance. His wife then walked in wearing socks with individual toes. You know the ones. She wiggled them at me and said, "See? I came prepared." That same week, my co-worker in Bangkok told me about an American tourist who got genuinely angry at a temple for the shoe removal rule. Not just annoyed, angry. He said he had foot problems and couldn't take his orthopedic shoes off. The monk politely explained everyone removes shoes, no exceptions, it's about respect. The guy actually said, "Well, in America, we have freedom." My friend still laughs about it. Freedom from respecting temples? Then there's my favorite. A hostel worker in Seoul shared this one. An American backpacker comes in, sees everyone's shoes lined up at the entrance. He takes his off, walks to his bunk, then puts them back on to walk to the bathroom. Take them off, walk back, put them on again. The Korean guests were so confused. Finally, someone asked him why. He said, "Well, the floor's dirty, right? That's why we take our shoes off?" He had it completely backwards. We take shoes off to keep the floor clean, not because it's already dirty. And let me tell you, this is just the beginning. Because once you start noticing these cultural mix-ups, you see them everywhere. Americans abroad aren't trying to be disrespectful. They're just working with a completely different instruction manual. And when those manuals clash, the results are hilarious. I've collected stories from friends working in hotels, restaurants, train stations, and tourist spots across Asia and Europe. Every single one follows the same pattern. Confident American, confusing situation, escalating misunderstanding. Everyone standing around wondering what just happened. My friend works at a guest house in Vietnam. She told me about an American couple who couldn't understand the shower shoes concept. In Asia, you wear special slippers in the bathroom. The wife kept wearing her indoor slippers into the shower. Then she'd wear the wet shower slippers back into the bedroom. Then she complained the floor was always wet. My friend had to draw her a diagram. The woman looked at it and said, "This seems overly complicated." It's 3 pairs of slippers: outside shoes, indoor slippers, bathroom slippers. The same woman had a skincare routine with 17 steps, but 3 types of footwear was too much. A tour guide in Thailand shared this gem. An American tourist asked why everyone was taking shoes off before entering homes. The guide explained it's about cleanliness and respect. The tourist nodded, said he understood, then showed up to a homestay dinner wearing his shoes because, quote, "I cleaned them really well in the hotel." He genuinely thought that solved it. The Thai family was too polite to say anything, but their teenage son kept staring at those shoes on their clean floor like he was witnessing a crime. My cousin works in a traditional Korean bathhouse. She said Americans struggle with the whole concept. One woman walked into the communal bath area wearing her full swimsuit, shower cap, and water shoes. In a space where everyone's naked, she was dressed for a pool party. When my cousin explained the rules, the woman said she'd feel more comfortable keeping the swimsuit on in a women-only bathhouse, where the entire cultural practice is communal nudity. She stood there in her floral one-piece while 60-year-old Korean grandmas casually scrubbed each other's backs. A receptionist in Bali told me about an American who got offended by the whole left hand thing. In Indonesia, you don't hand people things with your left hand. It's considered unclean. Simple rule. This guy kept doing it, and people kept politely avoiding his left hand. Finally, someone explained. He got defensive and said, "That's discriminatory against left-handed people." My friend tried to explain that it's not about handedness, it's about bathroom customs and cultural symbolism. He said, "Well, I use toilet paper, so it doesn't apply to me." That's not how cultural respect works. Then there's personal space. A barista in Italy told me American tourists are always surprised when locals stand close in line. She had one customer who kept stepping backward, maintaining his American personal space bubble. The line behind him stretched out the door. Finally, an Italian grandma just squeezed past him to order. He looked so offended. Later, he complained that Italians were pushy. My friend said, "Sir, this is normal distance here." He said, "It's not normal where I'm from." Exactly. That's the whole point. A waiter in France shared that Americans always talk too loud in restaurants. Not trying to be rude, just their normal volume is our loud volume. He had one table where the dad was telling a story about his colonoscopy. Everyone in the restaurant could hear every detail. In France, dinner conversation is supposed to be quiet, intimate. This man was sharing medical information with 40 strangers. The waiter finally asked them to lower their voices. The wife said, "We're not even being that loud." The entire restaurant disagreed. My friend's sister works at a hotel in Austria. Americans constantly mess up the quiet hours. In her building, after 10 p.m., you're supposed to be silent. Not quiet, silent. An American family was watching a movie at full volume at 11 p.m. Neighbors knocked. The family turned it down slightly and felt proud of their compromise. The neighbors knocked again. The Americans got annoyed and said, "It's not even midnight." In Austria, quiet hours mean you can get fined for walking too heavily. These people were running a home theater. A Japanese Airbnb host told me about guests who couldn't grasp the garbage sorting system. Japan has strict recycling rules. Burnable, non-burnable, plastic, cans, bottles, each on different days. These Americans just threw everything in one bag. The host explained the system 3 times. They nodded each time. Still one bag? On checkout day, she found 6 bags of mixed garbage. The note said, "Sorry, too confusing. Good luck." She had to sort through their trash herself, finding plastic bottles mixed with food scraps and empty shampoo bottles mixed with pizza boxes. And here's my favorite from this category. A gym worker in Singapore said an American member kept wearing his outdoor running shoes inside. In Singapore gyms, you change into clean indoor shoes. He'd jog from his apartment, through the streets, then walk right onto the gym floor with the same shoes. People complained. Management talked to him. He said, "But they're my gym shoes." Yes, that you wore through a construction site to get here. He genuinely couldn't see the problem. After 2 weeks of complaints, they had to add "outdoor shoes forbidden" to his membership contract specifically. A waitress in Tokyo told me about Americans who tried to tip her. She politely refused, explaining Japan doesn't do tipping. They insisted. She refused again. They left cash on the table and rushed out, probably feeling generous. She had to chase them down the street to return it. They looked so confused. One said, "But you gave great service." She explained that great service is just the standard. That's the job. They couldn't compute it. Finally, they took the money back. But they looked guilty the whole time, like they were stealing. My friend works at a restaurant in Paris. American tourists always ask for the check immediately after finishing their meal. In France, you sit, you digest, you relax. The table is yours for the evening. But Americans finish eating and want to leave instantly. They start looking around, making eye contact, doing that universal hand-scribbled gesture. My friend said one couple got genuinely annoyed that she didn't bring the check fast enough. They complained to the manager. He explained, "In France, we don't rush people out." The husband said, "Well, we have a schedule." "Sir, you're on vacation in Paris. A server in Germany told me Americans are always surprised by the water situation. In Germany, you pay for water. Tap water isn't really a thing in restaurants. This American asked for water, got a bottle, then complained about the charge. The server explained. The guy said, "But water should be free. It's a human right." Technically, yes, but this is a restaurant, and you're drinking Evian. He argued for 5 minutes about the moral implications of charging for water while drinking his €7 beer. My cousin worked at a pizza place in Rome. She said Americans constantly asked for modifications that made Italian chefs cry. "Can I get a Hawaiian pizza?" "No, we don't have that here." "Can you make it?" The chef would literally rather close the restaurant. "Pineapple on pizza?" In Rome, that's not a menu choice. That's a declaration of war. One tourist asked for ranch dressing with his margarita pizza. The chef came out of the kitchen to see if it was a joke. It wasn't. The American said, "I just think it needs more flavor." More flavor than a pizza made with San Marzano tomatoes and buffalo mozzarella by a third-generation pizzaiolo. A cafe worker in Melbourne told me about Americans confused by coffee sizes. In Australia, a small coffee is actually small, like 8 ounces. An American ordered a small, got his cup, and said, "This is a shot glass." The barista explained Australian sizes. He said, "I need like a big coffee, like a large." She gave him a large. 12 ounces. He stared at it. "Do you have like a bucket size?" "Sir, this is coffee, not a beverage meant to last you 3 days." He ended up ordering 3 large and combined them into a water bottle he brought. The barista watched in horror. A bartender in Ireland shared that Americans always ask to modify Irish coffee. "Can I get that with skim milk?" "It's made with cream." "Can you use decaf?" "Then it's not Irish coffee, it's a lie." "Can I get it iced?" "Why are you even here?" One woman asked for Irish coffee made with green tea instead of coffee. The bartender said, "So, not Irish coffee at all?" She said, "Right, but in the Irish coffee style." "What does that even mean?" He made her hot green tea with whiskey. She took one sip and said it was terrible. Yes, correct. A sushi chef in Japan told me about an American who poured soy sauce directly onto his nigiri, drowning it completely. The chef died a little inside. In Japan, you dip the fish side down lightly. This guy created a soy sauce pool and dunked his sushi like a donut in coffee. Then he mixed wasabi into the soy sauce, making that brown paste thing that makes Japanese chefs weep. The guy complimented the chef on the soy sauce soup. It's not soup. It's not supposed to be soup. You've created a salt puddle and murdered good fish in it. My friend worked at a Korean BBQ place. Americans would always grab the tongs and try to cook their own meat immediately. In Korean BBQ, the staff cooks it for you at nicer places. One guy kept insisting he wanted to do it himself. Finally, they let him. He burned everything, completely charred. Then I complained that the meat was tough. "Sir, you turned prime beef into charcoal." Another couple asked if they could get their meat well done before it came to the table. The whole point is cooking it at the table. They wanted pre-cooked meat at a cook-it-yourself restaurant. A server in Spain told me about Americans who couldn't handle the dinner schedule. In Spain, dinner is at 10 p.m. An American family came in at 6 p.m., hungry and annoyed that everywhere was closed. They finally found a tourist trap that opened early. They ate, then got mad that nobody else was eating. Yes, because it's 6 p.m. That's when Spanish people are having a snack before their evening starts. The dad said Spanish schedules were objectively wrong. My friend said, "Wrong for what?" He said, "For eating dinner in the country you're visiting, where this has worked for centuries." A street food vendor in Bangkok said Americans always freak out about the ice. "Is this ice safe?" "Yes, we make it with filtered water. But I heard Bangkok ice makes you sick." That was maybe true 40 years ago. "Are you sure?" "Lady, I eat this ice every day. Do I look sick?" She bought the drink, then wouldn't drink it because she kept staring at the ice. convinced it was going to destroy her. She carried it around for an hour, melted, then threw it away. She paid for ice water she was too scared to drink. A train conductor in Switzerland told me about Americans shocked by the train system's efficiency. One guy missed his train by 30 seconds. The train left exactly on time. He ran up angry, saying, "You saw me running!" The conductor explained Swiss trains run on a precise schedule. The American said, "But you could have waited 10 seconds." In Switzerland, if they wait 10 seconds, the whole system collapses. The train schedule is timed down to the minute across the entire country. One guy's running doesn't change that. He filed a complaint. It went nowhere. My friend works at a train station in Belgium. Americans always struggle with the platform system. The displays show platform numbers, but in Belgium, platforms can have sections A, B, C. An American was standing at platform 3, but his train was at platform 3B, which is down the stairs and to the left. He missed his train, then argued that the system was deliberately confusing. It's just a platform with sections. Most train stations have this. He demanded a refund. They showed him the display that clearly said 3B. He said the B was too small to notice. A bus driver in London shared this. An American tourist tried to pay with a £50 note on a bus. In London, buses don't take cash anymore. At all, only contactless cards. The driver explained this. The tourist said, "But it's legal money." "Yes, but this bus doesn't have a cash register. It's not about legality." The guy held up the entire bus, arguing about his right to use cash, while 40 people behind him silently judged him with their eyes. Finally, someone let him tap their card, and he paid them back in cash. A taxi driver in Tokyo said Americans always try to tip him. He refuses. They insist. It becomes this weird standoff. One guy literally opened the door and threw money on the seat, then ran away. The driver had to chase him to return it. When he caught up, the American looked annoyed, like the driver was being difficult. "I'm just trying to be nice." In Japan, tipping implies the worker isn't paid enough and suggests pity. It's actually rude, but Americans can't separate good service from must leave extra money. A bike rental shop owner in Amsterdam told me Americans constantly rent bikes, then ride like they're in traffic. In Amsterdam, bikes have their own rules. You stay in bike lanes, signal turns, follow bike traffic lights. Americans ride on sidewalks, go the wrong way, stop randomly without signaling. One guy caused a pileup because he stopped in the middle of the bike lane to take a photo. 5 cyclists crashed behind him. He was confused why everyone was angry. "I just wanted a picture." "You caused a bicycle traffic accident." My friend works at a car rental place in Scotland. Americans always ask about driving on the wrong side. It's not the wrong side, it's the left side. One guy rented a car, then came back 20 minutes later, pale and shaking. He said, "I can't do it. It's too weird." He'd driven 2 blocks, panicked, and came back. He said his brain couldn't handle it. Fair enough, but then he asked if Scotland had any American-style rental cars that drove on the right. "Sir, that would be illegal here." He genuinely thought rental agencies might have special cars for confused Americans. A metro worker in Paris told me Americans struggle with the metro map. It's color-coded, numbered, clear, but Americans see all the intersecting lines and panic. One tourist asked her, "How do I get from here to the Eiffel Tower?" She showed him on the map. 2 stops, 1 line, super simple. He stared at the map, then said, "Can you just write out turn-by-turn directions for a subway?" "That goes in a straight line." She wrote, "Get on line 6, get off at Bir Hakeim." He asked, "Which direction?" "The direction toward Bir Hakeim." That's why it's printed on the train. An airport worker in Frankfurt told me Americans get frustrated by the lack of English. "Sir, you're in Germany. She speaks English, but the announcements are German first, then English." One guy got mad that German came first. "Why isn't English the priority? More people speak it." In Germany, he wanted Germany to prioritize English in Germany because he personally spoke English. She asked if he'd learned any German for his trip. He said, "I didn't think I'd need it." "You're in Germany." A rental car agent in Ireland said Americans always crash trying to navigate roundabouts. Ireland has roundabouts everywhere. Americans hit them like they're encountering alien technology. One guy called from a roundabout in a panic. He'd been circling for 5 minutes, too scared to exit. The agent talked him through it like a hostage negotiation. "Okay, see the second exit? That's yours. Indicate left. Slow down. Okay, now turn." The guy made it out, then immediately hit another roundabout and called back. My cousin works for a boat tour company in Venice. Americans constantly ask where to park their car. In Venice, the city has canals instead of roads. The city is famous for having no cars. One woman argued that there must be parking somewhere. My cousin explained Venice is a pedestrian city. You take a boat or walk. The woman said, "But we drove all the way here." "Yes, and now you park on the mainland and take a boat in." She wanted to know if there was an exception for tourists. An exception to the fact that Venice doesn't have roads? Numbart, a GPS tour guide in rural Japan, said Americans don't understand that some addresses don't work in Google Maps. Japan's address system is based on districts and blocks, not street names. Americans type in an address, GPS can't find it, they panic. One couple called him furious that their GPS didn't work in Japan. He explained the address system. They said, "That's ridiculous. How do people find anything?" By knowing the system. He gave them directions based on landmarks. They complained that it wasn't specific enough. What's more specific than turn left at the blue vending machine? My friend who works at a hotel in Prague told me her favorite story. An American couple checked in and immediately asked where the closest Starbucks was. In Prague, a city with incredible historic cafes that have been serving coffee since the 1700s. She recommended a beautiful Art Nouveau cafe 2 blocks away. They said, "No, we want Starbucks. We know what we're getting there." They spent a week in Prague drinking Starbucks. On checkout, they said the city was nice, but not very authentic. They never experienced anything authentic because they actively avoided it. That story kind of sums up everything. These cultural misunderstandings happen because people expect the world to work like home. They're not trying to be difficult. They just genuinely believe their way is the default, and everywhere else is the variation. Like the American in Japan who kept asking why Japan did things differently. Sir, you're the foreigner here. Japan isn't doing things differently. You are. But here's the thing that gets me. After all these stories, after all the shoe confusion and tipping debates and metric system meltdowns, most people eventually figure it out. They realize quiet hours aren't personal attacks. They learn that different countries have different systems, and that's okay. Some of my best stories end with the same confused American coming back a week later, apologizing, laughing at themselves, saying they finally get it. A bartender in Dublin told me about a tourist who argued about Guinness temperature for 10 minutes. In Ireland, beer isn't served ice-cold. The tourist was furious, said it was warm, and demanded ice. The bartender explained its cellar temperature. That's how it's meant to be served. The guy left angry. 3 days later, he came back and said, "Okay, I get it now. The temperature brings out the flavor." Character development. Growth. He learned. That's why these stories don't make me frustrated. They make me laugh. Because we've all been that confused person somewhere. Maybe not about shoes in a Japanese inn, but about something. That moment where you realize you've been doing something completely wrong and everyone's been too polite to fully correct you. It's universal. It's human. My coworker in Kyoto, the one with the muddy boots guy, she told me he came back the next day with slippers he'd bought specifically for the ryokan. He bowed and apologized. She said it made all the mud-covered tatami worth it. People learn. Sometimes they just need a minute. And trust me, these stories never stop coming. Every day, somewhere in the world, an American is confidently doing something that's making a local person question everything. And somewhere else, that American is finally understanding why everyone was staring. The world's a big place. We're all just figuring it out. One confusing cultural interaction